Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I step off the train and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, listeners. It's a lovely day here in suburban Chicago. It's chilly, but not cold, so it's brisk. Brisk is probably the right word to describe the temperature today. I'm happy to be chatting with you as I walk home today. And I was looking and I realized it had been about 12 episodes since I last checked in about movies I watched. And the last time I checked in about movies I watched, it was December, and I was talking about November and October. So we've got a movie roundup to do, and it's time. As I sometimes do, if I think of it, I'll also mention some games that would go well with the movie that I'm talking about. So let's just jump right in. To start with, I've been on a bit of a kick the last few months, and a lot of these came up in December and January, of movies about like crusading reporters or whistleblowers, people trying to draw attention to some sort of problem. Now, often these movies are based on or inspired by true events, and that is the case with the movies that I'm talking about today. I think all of them actually that way. I guess there's one that isn't. Anyway, so the first one I want to talk about is Spotlight. This is probably the most well-known crusading reporter movie since All the President's Men, I guess. Spotlight is the story of the reporters from the Boston Globe, I think. Oh boy, I should really know which place I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure the Boston Globe, who revealed or wrote about the immense scandal involving the Catholic Church covering up serial child abusers by moving them from parish to parish. And that story then sort of broke a huge floodgate of similar conversations all over the place. The movie's very well made. It's a good journalistic thriller. You've got your Michael Keaton, you've got your Mark Ruffalo. Those are sort of the two main folks. There are a number of other interesting and significant characters in the film as well. The head editor for the paper, I'm trying to remember, I think it's Liev Schreiber, who comes in and faces some prejudice because he's Jewish. So they're seen as an attack on the Catholic Church by a Jewish man as part of the discussion. There's some really fun, dramatic paperwork moments where Mark Ruffalo is running to get a copy of a report, and overall it's pretty good. It is a horrifying story that it's telling, but in the context of the hero journalist movies, it's pretty great. I've not really followed up to see how true it was in terms of the things depicted as the things actually happened, but pretty great. Now, in terms of board games, there is a board game that came out recently, which I have not played, called Fit to Print, which is about rushing to get stories into the newspaper. But as far as I know, it doesn't have any of the investigative reporting parts. In fact, I'm unaware of any investigative reporting games with the exception of the mystery game from WizKids, Deadline, which obviously is about a sort of crusading reporter trying to solve murders. I think it's called Deadline. Anyway, that one I'm excited, I enjoy, and I think is the only reporter game I can think of. So the rest of these I'm not going to offer another one. The next one is She Said. This is another crusading reporter story. This one about the two women who broke the story about Harvey Weinstein. In particular, got Alyssa Milano to go on record about her experiences, or not Alyssa Milano, though she did later. I'm thinking of Ashley Judd and her experiences with Weinstein. The ramifications, of course, of that story being the rise of the Me Too movement and the eventual downfall, arrest, and imprisonment of Harvey Weinstein. Thank goodness. I think the movie did a good job, like Spotlight, of highlighting the ways that the system around these powerful people protected them. I would say, equally as good as Spotlight, I thought, in terms of being a dramatic reporter tale. If anything, this one had a little bit more trying to connect with witnesses and getting them to discuss things, although there was plenty of that in Spotlight too. The next one I watched is called The Report. The Report was about Adam Driver plays a an analyst at the CIA, and actually an analyst. He plays somebody who works for the House of Representatives, who was tasked with studying what happened, the abuse that happened in interrogation programs during the Iraq War and the Afghan War. It was a fascinating look at something I think a lot of people don't know about, which is that this person spent 2 years reading literally millions of documents, millions of pages of documents, and compiling a massive list of things that were done in the name of so-called freedom, but didn't fit any of the protocols of what we allow legally, but also had no proof that they actually worked, and in fact didn't work. They provided us bad intelligence. And in the aftermath of that, almost none of it came out. Almost none of what happened came out. Another fascinating one, really strong performance by Adam Driver as somebody who's like slowly going more and more angry. Maybe he did 5 years. It was a long time, just working in this one top secret room on this document. That's The Report. In a similar vein, I watched a British movie called Official Secrets about an analyst for the British intelligence services who felt angry and upset about the fact that the British intelligence services were being asked to find material that they could use to pressure UN partners to vote for the first Iraq invasion, particularly because there was no evidence that Iraq was involved, and the evidence of the WMDs was either fictitious or erroneous, or both. Keira Knightley plays the whistleblower in this case. Again, there's a lot of hand-wringing and trying to decide. She puts herself at dramatic personal risk, as does Adam Driver in The Report, because they are bound by laws regarding classified information, and in revealing it, they are breaking those laws. I thought that Official Secrets was a little more satisfying, perhaps, than The Report, just because Official Secrets actually she was able to leak the secrets in a way that they got out and had an effect. Next up in this line of things, in fact, the last one in this line of things, is Shattered Glass. This is sort of the opposite of a crusading reporter. This is about the rise and fall of a reporter, I think his name was Stephen Glass, who was a reporter for The Atlantic and wrote lots of really compelling stories that turn out to be made up, that he just made up a bunch of stories and wrote sensationally and faked enough about the fact-checking that he was able to skate by their fact-checkers and get his articles published. Really compelling story. Hayden Christensen does a great job of playing this damaged young man who bit off more than he could chew and then got himself in trouble. Really compelling film about a downfall of somebody and the reporters who figured out he was lying. Next up, we have Margin Call. This one, as far as I can tell, is not based on a true story, but based on a true situation, just like made up company. And this is a fictionalized version of a bank that found themselves embroiled in the 2008 financial collapse and figured it out just before the collapse that in fact their bank portfolio was full of this garbage stock that was part of the giant pool of money that was the heart of the banking collapse in 2008. The film does a great job of sort of exploring the different nuances of high pressure corporate world while really criticizing the people in those positions. The movie's a little hard to watch because Kevin Spacey is one of the main characters and he's since undergone a pretty significant drop in profile because of his personal life. But lots of other characters in the film who are really great. The guy who played Vision, I can't remember his name, is in it along with a bunch of other people you've seen before. Quite enjoyable. So I liked Margin Call. Put me in the similar mind of something like The Big Short, although I like The Big Short much better. All right, next up, this is a movie my wife and I watched. I don't know why I'm watching so many bank and financial movies. This is The Bank of Dave. The Bank of Dave is a lighthearted sort of comedic film about a man in Liverpool, I think, or one of the sort of smaller industrial towns in northern England, who is frustrated because they can't get good finance in their town, and he has been sort of operating loans, but he wants to be able to give real loans and good loans. And so he applies to the British banking firm to get a banking license, and they deny him, and he basically demands an appeal because he wants them to say in public that he's getting denied basically just because he's not a fancy boy. It's a really interesting film, very well made. It's a sort of light-hearted, heartwarming film that the British are generally pretty good at making, and it's cute. It's worth a watch. That's The Bank of Dave. All right, the one other new movie that I watched in December and January that I hadn't seen before, I watched for my zombie class, and this is Blood Quantum. Blood Quantum is a zombie movie featuring Indigenous people, made by Canadian Indigenous people, about a zombie outbreak where it turns out that the Native American people, particularly of this one tribe, are immune to the zombie bites. So while there are lots of zombies running around elsewhere, Native American people are able to survive for a while. It's a dark movie. It's about survival. It's about racism. It's really good. There are some very crude parts as well as violent and rude parts, of course. But overall, pretty enjoyable and well worth a watch if you like zombie movies. That's Blood Quantum. I did watch a bunch of other zombie movies in January. I'm not listing those here. It's the same ones I usually watch. And then I had 4 movies. One more new movie is Genie. This is the Melissa McCarthy comedy about a genie and how she helps out a man who's in need of help. It's pretty silly and a little fun, and it's like a nice Tuesday evening movie kind of deal. It also takes place at Christmas time, so you could see it as a Christmas movie. That's Genie with Melissa McCarthy. Finally, I did watch 3 movies again that I had seen before: Red, Nobody, and The Hunt for Red October, all of which were delightful. The Hunt for Red October in particular, I couldn't help but notice that it was directed by John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard. And in Hunt for Red October, there's a part where the main character is crawling along a isolated metal space, and he's mumbling to himself how he should have just stayed home. It reminded me a lot of John McClane in Die Hard saying, crawling along in the filtration system or the air vents and saying, "Come on down to LA, you'll have a good time." Same thing but with Alec Baldwin on a submarine. So, what movies did you watch in December and January? I'd love to hear. Head over to Board Game Geek LP269 and share your thoughts there. I can't wait to know what you've been watching. Thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.